So, hey guys, Chowser here, and yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about the new Legend Moria who has finally been added to the Japanese versions. We have the full info. Thanks to Matt for compiling the info here and to Koala-san for the translations. So yeah, Moria driven powerhouse int unit. And yeah, that's the first thing to point out, that JP are really focusing on the driven and powerhouse classes, like first versus Akainu last month, and now we are getting 3 new legends this month who are all at least one of those classes. And they all work decently well with versus Akainu too, so just a lot more toys, and just like Magellan before, this Moria also pairs up well with versus Akainu, either as captain with him or as a sub. Yeah, I'm pretty damn happy with how they designed this Moria. I have only minor complaints, like just the solid kit in general. So yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, this Moria is a super type, but despite that, he is a class captain, so this brings back, makes you think of Wheat Shanks, but Wheat Shanks was a very poorly designed unit. Like, I wouldn't say it's weak, it's just unrealistic to design a unit around both having int units and requiring certain classes. So like in cerebral slashers, like, yeah, it's not easy to build like that, and the value you get from doing it isn't that big either. So yeah, I'm much happier with how they handled Moria. So yeah, let's check out his captain ability. Driven and powerhouse characters attack. They get 5 times attack with matching orb. Otherwise it's 4.5 times, so that's a pretty good baseline, but it also means that any unit that isn't driven or powerhouse doesn't get any attack, as expected. And yeah, then it gets a lot of healing, so for every perfect you hit, you get 0.5 times character recovery at the end of the turn. And then he has the same mechanic as we to Big Mom as captain, so for every unit you kill, you receive health back at the end of the turn, and it's 50% of the total recovery on the crew. So if you have double Moria, it should be 100%. So yeah, it's pretty sizable when I played around with the Big Mom cap on the very few occasions, but yeah, it adds up a lot, like both those together. So yeah, I really like how they went with this, and the condition to get the 5 times attack isn't that rough. Like, it's just to get the matching orb. And I'm not entirely unsure if it has to be the same color or anything that is beneficial. They aren't always clear with that. I'm sure we'll find out soon, but yeah. Yeah, at least doesn't have a big problem to get the exact matching orb of the unit with his special. So yeah, let's move on to that. But yeah, basically changes all orbs to matching. Sadly not block. That's probably my biggest complaint. Because it will have really helped the kit, because now you have to handle block orbs some other way. Like, it's not a deal breaker, it's just, I don't think it will have made him too good to have that at this stage. For one turn, you get an orb boost for driven and powerhouse characters by 2.5 times, and you nullify damage over 2000 from each enemy. This is the damage threshold, but apparently it's 100% about 2000, so you know that enemies aren't going to do more than 2000, which is nice, obviously. And after one turn has passed, you get a color affinity for driven and powerhouse by 2.25 times. And yeah, this is the clock that you can see sometimes, where you get a buff after a certain amount of turns has passed. And yeah, you can discuss this. Like, the good thing with being different buffs is that you can use 2 Moria, for example, and you can set it up so you have different buffs, different stages, so they overlap. So that's the good part of it. As for other things, like he's an ore booster, and if you're running driven a powerhouse focused teams, you'd want versus Akainu, also an ore booster, so it's a bit iffy like that, but at least it gives color affinity. At the same time, we now have a very good color affinity booster for powerhouse with Legend Magellan. So yeah, basically it's just more options. Like, the good thing with Driven and Powerhouse now is that all their units aren't tied to colors. Like, there's nothing stopping you from using a lot of different colors. Especially with this Moria, because yeah, it has a super type. We can get into that, but I wouldn't view the super type as encouraging you to run an int focused team. I see it mainly as giving access to a secondary special, and any int unit you have getting more affinity is just a nice bonus in this case. But yeah, the super type condition sounds annoying, but it's actually really good, because if you use Moria as captain, you really want just Driven and Powerhouse. Like, often when you team build, you can think like, oh, one unit can be anything else and it's fine. But yeah, basically it's getting the access to this super type special makes it worth sticking to 6 powerhouse and driven units. So I think it's a fair payoff. And I really like the super type special a lot. It does 75 times typeless damage to all enemies, so basically a wave clear against mobs. That's the main purpose of it. -1 CD to Driven and Powers characters. So this is very reminiscent of the Sweet Commanders, except Sweet Commanders is for strength, this is for 2 classes. But Moria also locks the orbs. And yeah, orb block is super good. Like, units with orb block, ships with orb block, supports with orb block, they are super valuable for a lot of different content. Like, a lot of the team building in this game is about orb management, and orb block is one of the most potent ways of getting orb control. And yeah, considering Moria has a special to give full wall of matching orbs, you can use super type to lock them. So yeah, it just has a very clear possible use. And he also has a great support, color affinity boost for driven characters, final stage by 1.5 times. Can only be put on in characters that are driven, but it's a fair compromise since it's a 1.5 times boost. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this Moria, because we haven't looked at these sailors too, but it has 2 amazing sailors. Like, he reduces 1 turn of special bind on the crew. That's one of the best sailor abilities you can have. And he also makes int matching for everything. So yeah, I don't need to tell you how absurd possibilities that is as a sub with his special too, with giving all matching orbs and an orb boost. First with damage threshold, and then you can get an affinity the stage after those sailors. It's a Moria, so you have good support, especially the Kuma removes 5 turns of the spear. Like, yeah, this Moria is going to be a very commonly used sub, probably more than captain, but yeah, I'm a big fan of his captain. He would be very fun to team build with. Like, he would be very good against hard content. You can bring a lot of different classes. You can get a lot of healing. He also gives 1.3 times HP. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what people come up with him. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Moria. I'll be back tomorrow during my tennis, talk a bit about the new Blackbeard. I'm a bit more iffy about him, but yeah, I still like when Bandai does crazy stuff. So yeah, I'll be back with that. So thanks for hearing me out. See you next time.